The U.S. Senate has voted to proceed with the second impeachment trial against former President Donald Trump after finding it has the jurisdiction to do so. In Costa Rica, President Carlos Alvarado faced a hearing in Congress regarding the alleged violation of personal data laws. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan unveiled an ambitious 10-year space program that includes missions to the moon. Hello, welcome to From the South. I am Janet from the teleSUR studios in Caracas. We begin with the news. Stay with us. The United States Senate opened Donald Trump's second impeachment trial this Tuesday. The former president is charged with inciting the deadly mob attack on the Capitol, which prosecutors have called the most grievous constitutional crime. Senator Patrick Leahy is presiding over the impeachment trial, which began with the adoption of a resolution that provides for the organizing procedures. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said Trump's second impeachment trial represents the gravest charge even brought against an U.S. president.
You will not be hearing extended lectures from me because our case is based on cold, hard facts. It's all about the facts.
And you don't need to be a constitutional scholar to know that the argument President Trump asks you to adopt is not just wrong, it's dangerous. And you don't have to take my word for it. This body, the world's greatest deliberative body, the United States Senate, has reached that same conclusion in one form or another over the past 200 years in multiple occasions that we'll go through. Over 150 constitutional scholars, experts, judges, conservative, liberal, you name it, they overwhelmingly have reached the same conclusion, that of course you can try, convict, and disqualify a former president.
On Wednesday, authorities lifted coronavirus restrictions in different Russian regions. In the Ulyanovsk region, people are now able to visit theaters at 50% capacity. Bars and restaurants can open till 11 p.m. In both Ulyanov and Samara regions, health workers have the right for a rehab facility in medical centers. Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin said employers are no longer required to have 30% of staff work from home, although a recommendation to continue doing so remains. In the capital, cafes, restaurants and bars are now allowed to operate between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. To date, Russia registers over 4 million COVID-19 cases and more than 78,000 deaths. The vaccination process against COVID-19 has begun in Peru, giving priority to the president and health worker. President Francisco Sagasti kicked off the vaccination process this Tuesday in Lima and Callao as the first to receive a first doses, together with several health personnel. 300,000 vaccine doses arrived in the country on Sunday. 13 hospitals in metropolitan Lima and Callao have received the doses produced in the Chinese lab Sinopharm to start the inoculation process. Also, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro announced the arrival of the country of 100,000 doses of the Russian Sputnik V vaccine.
The initial arrival of 100,000 Sputnik V doses has been announced, and once the vaccination process begins, we are going to vaccinate all medical personnel, all health personnel in Venezuela, the most vulnerable sectors, and then we are going to vaccinate teachers, educators.
The Venezuelan president also announced the strengthening of the comprehensive care plan for the victims of the economic warfare engaged by the United States.
I have ordered and approved the strengthening plan, as I am announcing, of the comprehensive care plan for the victims of the imperialist warfare and blockade, incorporating ministers, presidents of different bodies, vice presidents of services and public works, Furthermore, I am going to ask the President of the National Assembly today that the National Assembly joins these efforts with street parliamentarism on the streets, with door-to-door visits, and the comprehensive care for the victims of the imperialist war and blockade.
President of Costa Rica, Carlos Alvarado, faces a hearing in Congress on Wednesday regarding the alleged violation of personal data law. The hearing was sparked with the government considering it unconstitutional. President Alvarado has described the hearing as setting a serious precedent, and although at first he was reluctant to attend on Friday, he finally confirmed his presence. The political constitution of the country does not establish a mechanism for the president to be questioned by Congress, but legislative committees, which are usually made up of 7 lawmakers, can summon the president to a hearing on a specific matter. Further controversy arose after the plenary decided that the investigation commissions of the case on the presidential data analysis unit will hold the hearing in the plenary hall and not in the room where it usually holds its sessions. In addition, the plenary approved the suspension of all other activities in Congress in order for any lawmakers who wish to attend the hearing. Bolivian prosecutors have charged retired Army General Luis Valverde for his role in the Sencata massacre that occurred in November 2019 in the midst of the coup against the government of then-President Evo Morales. The public prosecutor's office identified Valverde as one of those responsible for the Sencata massacre that resulted in 10 deaths and 31 wounded during a military and police operation in El Alto. The public prosecutor's office indicated that it will request Valverde's arrest after being charged with the crimes of homicide, serious and minor injuries. The authorities explained that in the preliminary investigation they discovered elements that allowed them to presume that General Valverde was the probable author of the mentioned crimes. The prosecutor's office also informed that it has expanded the investigations against the former Minister of Government, Defense and Hydrocarbons of de facto government head by Yanine Áñez. This Tuesday, the Venezuelan National Assembly's Special Commission for Dialogue with Peace and National Reconciliation met with its workers' representatives to discuss legislative proposals to strengthen protection of the working class in the midst of the U.S. blockade. The meeting between parliamentarian and union representatives seeks to establish proposals such as the creation of new laws for the defense of workers and the revision of the anti-blockade economic laws. The President of the National Assembly, Jorge Rodriguez, stressed the importance of listening to those most affected by the aggressions of the United States, while also highlighting the serious effects of the coercive measures imposed by Washington on the entire Venezuelan population.
The current government of the United States of America recognizes the serious effects that the sanctions against Venezuela have had on the lives of the Venezuelan people. Perhaps you are aware that yesterday a document called Citgo was published where it is established in black and white that the serious effects that the sanctions against Venezuela have caused have been demonstrated. And where were those sanctions aimed at? Who were the subjects of the aggression of those sanctions? Who were the targets to be attacked with those sanctions? Which sectors of Venezuelan society were to be targeted by the blockade and sanctions? All Venezuelan men and women, without exception.
The President of the Venezuelan Parliament also indicated that the coercive measures imposed by the United States seek to break the will of the Venezuelan people.
But especially, the sanctions were aimed at attacking 2 victims, Venezuelan women, Venezuelan families, the head of the Venezuelan families, which in our country, fortunately, thank God, is made up of women and working women, because if you attack the income of a country as the income from our main export product, which is oil, has been attacked, you are messing with the pockets of the workers. We believe that 2021 is a year of great opportunity to definitely defeat this aggression.
On Tuesday, Guatemalan authorities downgraded the alert level for volcanic activity in Pacaya from red to yellow. The Volcanology Institute detailed that in the recent hours, several moderate and some strong explosions accompanied by ash plumes were observed near the municipality of San Vicente Pacaya and in San Francisco de Sales. The agency detailed that the volcano gradually emits strong sounds and wave that causes the roof and the windows in nearby village to vibrate. Guatemalan authorities have declared a phytosanitary emergency due to a growing locust infestation, a measure that will be in effect for 6 months. Authorities presume that the pest originated in Mexico and has been moving southward gradually, focused mainly in the Guatemalan departments of Petén and Jatiapa. The International Regional Organization for Plant and Animal Health has allocated $218,000 in resources for the control and fumigation of the flying locusts in Guatemala. Damage to crops and pastures has been reported. In Turkey, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan unveiled an ambitious 10-year space program for his country. The program includes missions to the moon, sending Turkish astronauts into space and developing internationally viable systems. The move is seen as part of Erdogan's vision for placing Turkey in an expanding regional and global role. The Turkish president said the nation planned to establish a first contact with the moon in 2023, when the country marks the centennial of the founding of the Turkish Republic. Erdogan added that the first stage of the mission will be through international cooperation, while the second stage will use Turkish rockets. Turkey established the Turkish Space Agency in 2018 with the aim of joining the handful of other countries with space programs.
I now present to you Turkey's 10-year vision, strategy and aims, and I say, look at the sky. You will see the moon. Dear friends, our primary and most important goal for our national space program is the contact of our republic in its 100th year with the moon. God willing, we are going to the moon. Our 10th and final goal is to send Turkish citizens to space. I hope that this roadmap, which will carry Turkey to the top league in the global space race, will come to life successfully.
The new U.S. administration of President Joe Biden has announced that it will continue to enforce the so-called CSAR acts against Syria, pushed through by his Republican predecessor, Donald Trump. But both the Syrian government and people have stressed they will continue to resist the U.S. sanctions, just as they have managed to confront the terrorist war imposed on their country. Our correspondent, Hisham Wanous, brings us more details.
Children are the future of the country. They are human potential that, despite the ravages of almost 10 years of foreign-imposed terrorist war, remain attached to their homeland and determined to regain its splendor and to develop their creativity and innovation in defiance of the U.S. economic terrorism that plagues their country. This was demonstrated by members of the Syrian Pioneers Organization through an artistic exhibition of works and handicrafts that they themselves produced as a tribute to the Syrian Arab Army and President Bashar al-Assad.
What has been presented by the senior members of the Pioneers Organization in this event constitutes a message of defense against terrorists and the current economic war that plagues their country, demonstrates their creativity and determination to continue producing despite all the difficulties caused by the war, to rebuild their country and preserve the victory achieved by our brave national army.
Through this event, we ratify that all of us, children, adults and seniors, identify ourselves with our brave army and our President Bashar al-Assad, and that despite all pressures we will remain steadfast, children and adults alike, ready to offer what is most valuable in defense of our homeland and our soil.
At the same time, the first Syrian Economic Forum meeting was held in Damascus, an event organized by the National Center for the Promotion of National and International Investment, and whose main objective is to find practical solutions to the difficult situation the country is facing due to the Western economic blockade, an initiative that is being developed with the support of friendly countries such as Russia, Iran, and China, interested in helping the Syrian people to overcome the effects of the sanctions tightened with the so-called CSAR Act.
We have managed to cope with the terrorist war and the political pressures, and we are currently coping with the economic war, and through the center that we have established, we are striving to find economic solutions on the basis of boosting domestic and foreign investment, especially in terms of material and moral reconstructions.
What we are seeking now is to reorganize, reorient, and systematize the national human potential, so that the courage of this potential will be more active and more effective in the face of a current economic war. And this is a plan that we are developing locally with the help of our Russian friends.
Efforts on the ground, the willpower of the Syrian people, as well as the numerous official and civil society economic initiatives, have made it possible, along with the help of Syria's allies, to rehabilitate and start up more than 1,000 industrial facilities, specialized in producing pharmaceuticals, foodstuffs, and other basic necessities, a significant achievement that demonstrates Syria's determination to resist and emerge triumphant from the current economic war imposed by Washington and its allies.
teleSUR, Damascus, Syria.
On Wednesday, tens of thousands of people took part in a protest march led by Buddhist monks against Myanmar's military takeover in Mandalay. The march after a day after police in the country's second largest city used water cannon and fire warning shots in the attempt to disperse demonstrators. Holding a large banner denouncing last week's military takeover, the monks led the noisy but peaceful crowd on the 3-hour march. There were no reports of any clashes with police. Protesters are demanding that power be restored to Suki's civilian government. Also in Myanmar's capital, a day after authorities fired water cannons and shots at protesters and left one woman critically injured, police again warned crowds to disperse but backed away from a repeat of Tuesday enforcement. Several thousand gathered on Wednesday morning chanting slogans against the military who took power 10 days ago, though the number appeared to be smaller than previous days. Tens of thousands of people poured into Nepal's capital on Wednesday as protests continue against the Prime Minister's decision to dissolve parliament and announce new elections. The Supreme Court is hearing more than a dozen petitions challenges to the dissolution of the parliament. Judges are expected to give their verdict this month. A splinter group of the governing Nepal Communist Party brought people from other parts of the country on buses and trucks to Kathmandu, where they gathered for a rally in the heart of the city. Last week, it led a nationwide general strike that shut schools, transportation, and markets.
I want to challenge the government that we will bring hundreds of thousands of people from all over to seize Balu Watar, the Prime Minister's house, and Singdat Durbar, the government secretariat.
Iran's President Hassan Rouhani said Wednesday that diplomacy was the only path and that the era of the maximum sanctions has come to an end.
There is no other way for the world and for the region. The only path is definitely the path of diplomacy. The only path is the world's agreement with Iran. God willing, we will be successful in this path. Of course, I am proud of negotiations. Negotiating is not a negative thing. Negotiating is one of the means of ruling for a modern government in today's world. Not just today's world, but it is a legacy of the great prophet of Islam. The era of maximum sanctions has come to an end. The era of economic war is over. There is no war anymore. Everyone understood that maximum pressure has failed.
Afghan officials say the chain of bombs explosions targeting Kabul police on Wednesday killed 2 people and wounded 5. No one immediately claimed responsibility for the blasts, which were all caused by explosive devices attached to vehicles that are remotely detonated or set off by timers. The largest of the attacks struck a police car in a western Kabul neighborhood, killing the city's District 5 police chief, Mohammad C. Kochi, and his bodyguard. Kabul police spokesman Firdaus Farsamat said an hour before the blast, 2 other bomb explosions took place. One of them about 500 meters away from where the police car was targeted, wounded 4 civilians. There were no casualties in the other blasts, which took place elsewhere in Kabul. Afghanistan has seen a nationwide spike in bombings, targeted killing, and violence as peace negotiations in Qatar between the Taliban and Afghan government have stalled. In Japan, a maritime self-defense force submarine and a commercial ship collided off in the southern coast. Defense officials say the accident caused minor injuries to their crew members of the submarine and damage to its mast. The submarine Soryu was in the process of surfacing about 27 nautical miles south of Cape Asuri in Japan's southwestern island of Shikoku when it collided with the commercial ship. The Navy did not identify the commercial ship, but local media said it was the Hong Kong-registered bulk carrier Ocean Artemis. The carrier was transporting 90,000 tons of iron to Okayama in the western Japan after leaving the Chinese port of Qingdao last Friday. Rescuers flew a drone inside a tunnel in Indian Himalayas to look for 35 construction workers believed trapped there since a surge of waters went down a mountain valley, destroying dams and bridges, officials said on Wednesday. Some 204 people remain unaccounted for since Sunday's disaster in the northern state of Uttarakhand, most of them workers at the Tapovian Chungwan hydroelectric project or a Richingak, a smaller dam which was swept away in the flood. The fire rescuers have retrieved the bodies of 32 people from mountains sites and further downstream in the Dangu Linga River, to the state police said. There was also concern that those who had survived the flooding inside the tunnel were at risk of hypothermia, dangerous drop in body temperatures because of cold conditions. A drone with 5 cameras was sent inside a short stretch in the tunnel on Tuesday, but it failed to show on any human presence, officials said. We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find this and many other stories on our website telesurenglish.net. Join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Telesur English, I am Janet Perez Moya. Thank you for watching.